Fox Business Alert, investors in Millennium Bank based in the Caribbean have this to think about, guys. It shares some attributes similar to what Alan Stanford was allegedly doing. He's the possible Ponzi scammer served with civil papers yesterday by the FBI. Now, Millennium offers 5-year CDs with interest rates of 6.5% to 7.75% on deposits of $100,000 or more, and it boasts that it is, quote, not affected by the global financial crisis. Happy Hour calls from Millennium have not been returned. Now let's move on to the latest on Alan Stanford himself. A report saying somebody told the SEC to stand down on a probe of Stanford back in 2006. That's reminiscent of Bernie Madoff. Congressman Dennis Kucinich is outraged by this, and we've got him here on Happy Hour on the phone. Representative Kucinich, thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead, open platform. Set that up for us, please.
Thanks. As chairman of the Domestic Policy Subcommittee, I'm going to be, I've already sent a letter over to the SEC asking them to produce documents that relate to this report that they were told to stand down rather than enforce the law against the Stanford group going back to October of 2006.
Congressman, where did you get this report? I mean, give us some details about how you found out about it, how this all surfaced, and when was this report issued, so forth. What are the details?
Well, the details are as follows. The New York Times on the 17th of February ran a story about the Stanford group and an analysis. And in the analysis, towards the bottom of the story, they had a reference that said that a investigator for the SEC in Texas said that they were ready to move on the Stanford group back in October of 2006, but they were told to stand down, that's a quote, by an unnamed federal agency. Now, this, if this is true, and again, this is somebody who was an official who was quoted as saying this, and I haven't seen anything refuting it. If it's true,
right.
Then we have the beginnings here of a massive scandal.
Massive.
And we've got to get to the bottom of it. So my Domestic Policy Subcommittee has immediately gone into action to start to get documents.
However, when you said that, immediately why I was trying to jump in there is because as we've been hearing with this Stanford investment in this individual is that he was, the FBI was also looking at him because of mob connections related to Mexican drug cartels. I mean, I don't know if this is just all in movies and so forth, but you have one agency saying, hey, hold off, we're about to break this major international investigation, so hold off, SEC, because the FBI is in the middle of this whole investigation.
Is that possible?
Well, you know what? I don't know if it's possible to tell someone to hold off on exposing a multi-billion-dollar fraud because you got a bigger fraud in the works. I think that it's what I want to find out is what agency, if any, told the SEC not to enforce the law. Because after that, we saw there was very weak enforcement on many violations that could have caused the SEC to close Stanford Group down.
Congressman, today Cuomo, the Attorney General here in New York, is also going after. He apparently was talking to Ken Lewis at BOFA and John Thane, formerly of Merrill. These guys, and also fact-finding, getting more and more information. Are we about to see some serious step up in the congressional ranks of you guys coming after the private sector and trying to find out exactly where the stuff started and how it's come down?
Well, there has to be an investigation. I mean, as chairman of the Domestic Policy Subcommittee, I'm committed to protecting the interests of investors and getting the public, making the public aware of who did not do their job. And if the government itself is involved in not just not having oversight, but if there was some agency that intervened on behalf of some shadowy interest, we need to know that. We need to know that.
That would explicitly be Illuminati. That is what I'm talking about.
It's happened in this country before, Iran-Contra.
Well, you know what? That comment you just made about Iran-Contra is something that keeps reverberating through a lot of things that are happening in Washington.
Absolutely.
And I think from one perspective, as the chairman of a investigative subcommittee that has a pretty good reach, we're going to get documents to try to find out who told the SEC not to go forward with enforcement, because think of the investors that have paid a price since that time. Think of what would have happened if they would have started to close the circle around the Stanford group, and the people who had investments with Madoff could have possibly had a heads up a couple years ahead of time. I mean, this is really a very important matter.
Thank you so much for fighting this and going after him, man.
Can you let us know immediately, as soon as you get some more information, Congressman Dennis Kucinich? Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. Bye now.